o'clock. I'm going to start calling this meeting to order of the Crooked Creek Art League for our first meeting of the 2022-23 year. I'm excited
to have so many people here. Thank you for coming. This is our first meeting without COVID restrictions. So yay. But in saying that, we also need to know that we need to err in the direction of caution. Please make sure that you take care of yourself, and we don't want anything to transform from here and go and affect anybody. I'm going to ask that you remember to please sign up. We have refreshments for next time. Please volunteer to bring something. We have all the galleries. All the galleries. If you want to display at the galleries over here, we're taking up money for membership. If you'd like to do your membership in person today, and we ask that you go and look at the sheets that we have and check us if all your information is correct. Y'all know as well as I do, it's real easy to swap a couple of numbers here and there, and we don't think that that's the case, but we're just trying to make sure we got it straight. Make sure on your way out that you look at Dale Bishop's work in the Tap Art Gallery, which is out front. Dale won Best in Show for our Spring Juror Show, which she's featured. For New Memories, the Artist Tap Gallery is out there. So when you look over here, you got Tap Gallery, you know what you're signing up to display at. Most months of the year, we have a theme for the Tap Gallery. The October theme is abstract art. So we'll be hanging our abstract stuff there. At that time, the Tap Gallery is on the other side where people will be hanging, just so you know. And we will give out a ribbon each month to the winner of the theme. And as I said, the first thing we have is abstract for the month of October. Okay, a few other announcements that I have: the non-juror show, October 29th to November 5th at the Lexington County Friends of the Libraries exhibition. It's not a juror show, but we do give a ribbon for People's Choice. We do need volunteers to please sign up for this. Go to the website, read the prospectus, please. There's a slightly different size requirement there than we use for our juror show. So please, I mean, we take smaller things like that. So please make sure that you check the prospectus on the sizes. Yeah, we had a beautiful show there in May, and they loved our work so much. They asked us to come back, and they want to go twice a year. So we're doing them again in May after the November. Again, the nut is limited to about 50 pieces. So we've already got 20 signed up. So if you're interested in exhibiting there, and go back, and I want to remind you here, this can be anything that you've already entered in any of our other shows. There's no restrictions on when you completed it, or if you've already exhibited it with Crooked Creek at our juror shows of Still Hopes or our spring juror show. So please think about that. The 5th annual juror show at Still Hopes is December 3rd through January 28th. Online registration will begin November 15th. The major change there that I want to bring to your attention is that you will be delivering your artwork to Still Hopes. We'll have it lined up. We got a little map. You bring it in, and we hang it up. Again, it's going to be the first 50 pieces. And y'all, both of these had sales last year. Both of them had sales last year. You know, it's a good chance to put your work out and maybe sell some. Again, it's first come, first serve. So please get that done. Barbara Tusing, would you like to bring something up about our community project?
Well, mouthful of food, sorry. Community art, we had a booth at the Chapin Labor Day Festival this year, and we were talking about the new Chapin Art Trail, which is going to be opening up very shortly. All the artwork's already out there, but the trail markers aren't in place yet. So the website is pretty much done. Everything else is pretty much ready to go, but we're excited about where that's going. There will be an RFP coming out as soon as the board approves it. So hopefully we'll be able to get that done and ready to go in the next week or two. We're trying to turn that around quickly. And the RFP will utilize some funds we've got from a grant resource this year. We were very grateful to the Greater Chapin Connected Communities Grant. I always stumble over that one. But we got a grant from them to pay for adding one more new piece to the trail. So it's going to be a nice big piece that we're planning to do as a single solicitation. So we're putting an RFP out for artists to give us proposals on what they would propose to add to the trail. It could be a 3D sculpture piece. It could be almost anything, but it does need to be able to be outdoor compatible. Because we're going to put it out in the public on the trail somewhere in town. And there's 3 possible locations, and depending on what it is. So the RFP will come out. We're going to ask for artists to give us proposals. Then we'll negotiate with that artist, work out all the details and logistics, and then get started, and then it'll get installed whenever they finish it. And so hopefully that won't be too terrible long, but depends on what it is, I suppose, and how fast they work. But we're looking forward to having all of that up and operational. We're excited about that. I will need help with a couple of people putting out trail markers. I've got some volunteers that have already given me their names, but if you're interested in helping be a part of that, that's a pretty quick and easy job. So consider volunteering. You get a lot out of the league if you give to the league and participate. So I always reverse that.
The more you do, the more you benefit.
Yeah, all right. Anybody has any questions about any of that?
Okay, Sandra, would you like to mention anything about the fall festival?
Currently, we have 12 people that have signed up and participating in the fall festival.
We can't really hear too well.
No, really big decision because we do have 2 candidates this year, but of course, if you get Kansas place space is somewhat limited. So
Okay. She said she's got 12 signed up now, so, and we only have 2 10-by-10 spaces right next to each other. So you're interested in being in the fall festival, and that is the October 15th, right?
Yeah.
From
9 to 2.
9 to 2, but we need to be there to set up before 8 o'clock. Before 8 o'clock. Okay. Real quick, if you are a new member or a guest would like to recognize you, y'all mind stand up introducing yourself? All right, we got back here. Go ahead.
My name is Tony Carr. I like taking pictures. Work at Chapin Intermediate School. I've done photography club there for years, so students come through there and part of the club. But thought I give it a try. I know Jason for a while. We displayed our photos over the summer here at the club. They're gorgeous.
Yes.
They're wonderful. Yeah. So like I said, I take photos myself. Maybe some opportunities to maybe sell a picture or 2 when you
Good, and we like photographers. Because my husband and I are photographers too. Okay. Yeah.
I'm Ciara Pineda, and I'm an oil painter, and this is my first month as a full-time artist.
That's fine.
Okay.
We get to see your face on a map.
Okay. I'm Kelly Bryant. I do acrylic painting. I was conned into admitting that I am an artist. And I am now here.
She's an artist. Somebody, all right?
Jim McGrath, I saw the article in Chapin magazine and it looked interesting, so I thought I'd come and see what it's going to be about.
Woo-hoo.
I'm Tony Cassidy. That's my husband, Don Cassidy, and we just moved into the area. And I do a little bit of stained glass and art, whatever. You know, I just enjoy any kind of art.
Brian Fire, Yvonne Fire, and we've lived in the area about 16 years out in Ashford, but doing photography for about 10 or so. We're glad to be here tonight. Laney invited us.
Glad to have you.
Tom Newbold.
The more photographers, the better.
Also, enjoy playing clay.
That's good. As well as oil, as well as acrylic, as well as watercolor. We like it all. I'd like to congratulate all of our members that have received accolades. Oh, wait a minute. Somebody else, all right?
My name is Nicholson, and I joined a year ago, but I lived in Aiken, so I've never been to a meeting, although I did have the pleasure of going to one workshop where I met a couple of people. So we finally moved here, and I'm excited to be here, and this time, so happy to be started.
Anybody else before I move on? Okay.
You want to say?
Do I need to? I got a good voice. I was a gym teacher. I have a gym voice. So, congratulations to all our members that have received Accolades Awards over the summer. I wouldn't begin to name. If anybody would like to stand and say what they have received, I would have, I'd be glad to recognize you, but it's been on the blog. But I do ask that if you receive an award, please send it to Sandra or Karen's got an award, Karen.
First of all, I was accepted into the South Carolina Water Media National Edition. Part of the traveling show that will travel to different galleries and museums throughout South Carolina.
That's great. Anybody else want to share anything? Because folks, we just need to make sure you tell Sandra so it gets on the blog. Sandra Oliver is your contact on that.
And if they forget Sandra or.
If they forget Sandra.
They can always just send it to the crookedcreekartleague@gmail.com address and it'll get to Sandra.
Because we have quite a few of the watercolor media that have got things going on. We got other things. Well, Barbara got an award just last Friday night. So we have plenty of awards out there. A lot of people are being in the public, in the galleries or different galleries, and we're very proud of you for getting there. I'm going to go ahead and turn the meeting over to our Vice President, Deborah Kelly. Oh, wait a minute, I want to say one more thing too. Sorry. He mentioned the Chapin magazine. Got a great article here. Great article in our magazine, so you can look at that. Also, you can pick up some postcards to mail to friends. They're over here on the table. If you need any of this, please make sure that you grab those on your way out. Now, without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Deborah Kelly to introduce our guest speaker tonight. Oh, I'm sorry, I had the workshops down. Okay, we do have our workshop coming up October 14th and 15th. Ralph Maniscalchi, and he's oil and he's portraits. So if you're interested, yes. And we ask if you're not necessarily interested, share them with friends who do the oils and things like that, because we'd really like this workshop to fill up and us to be able to have it. Anything else? Don't want to miss anybody. Okay, Deb, I'm going to turn it over to you, and I'm going to get out of the way.
It's my pleasure to introduce our speaker for this month, Tony Carr. Tony, thank you so much for agreeing to present the program.
You definitely need a microphone in your hand.
Oh, I need it in my hand.
Yeah, because
I'm too short.
Too short, too quiet.
I've never been
Just
called quiet
pull it towards you.
like this.
You want to take it out of the stand or use the stand?
I have to hold it. Is that better? Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. Tony, thank you for agreeing to be our presenter for this month. Let me tell you a little bit about Tony. Tony is a self-taught artist from North Augusta, South Carolina. He works with multimedia and creates both two-dimensional and three-dimensional pieces of art. Tony uses copper and he has some really beautiful pieces, and you're going to see some of those tonight, where he creates unique lights and woven metal baskets, as well as stained glass, creating one-of-a-kind glass wall pieces and mirrors. He also creates custom pieces of art and does restoration of stoneware, pottery, and other artifacts for museums and collectors on commission. He has been creating commission pieces and selling his work in galleries across the South for over 20 years. He is the former vice president of the Arts and Cultural Council in North Augusta and is also a board member of the North Augusta Artists Guild. He has been featured in newspapers and magazines such as the Augusta Chronicle and the North Augusta Star. So it's my pleasure to present Tony. And Tony, would you come up?
So much, Deborah. Can anyone hear me? Like I said, I'm a self-taught artist. It just came about. I tell people I cannot not create. So it's like in me. This first piece right here, this is a copper light, and we'll get further into other ones as we go forward. So, so this is a mosaic mirror, and it's just mainly just talks about the different mediums that I work in. I mainly started in copper and fell in love with glass, and fell in love with hot glass, and then started stone. Photography. I look at everything as a medium. It can be repurposed or reused in some type of way. So I don't know if y'all know much about Edgefield pottery. So Edgefield, South Carolina is the mecca of pottery for all of the potters in the South. All of the ones, even out of Texas, can trace their roots right back to Edgefield, South Carolina. This particular piece, and if you go to my website, there's actually a slideshow where I put it back together. So this piece came to me in an 8-gallon wash tub in 35 pieces. And it's made by Dave, who is a famous slave. You can just type in Dave the Slave and you'll find more information than you ever thought was available. And I have been conversing and working with MoMA in New York. They have a display of Edgefield pottery going on right now. It started at first of this month. And Dave is their featured potter. So, these are some of my, you look at a piece of wire and you say, what can I do with a piece of wire? And that you can create something from anything. And these are some of my baskets that I've made. These are woven strip copper baskets on the bottom and wire at the top. The bread basket, they came in all different, and everything, if you go to my website, everything on my website is sold. But it just gives you an example of what can be done. And I started out doing shows and then moved into galleries. And I've actually been doing it for 30 years. And once I stopped from the galleries, I do just mainly strictly commission work now. But these are, this wire, it's really interesting. The green wire that you see is actually lightning rod wire. They run it up in trees on golf courses and stuff like that to attract the lightning. These are some of my lights during the day on the left, at night on the right. They're LED, remote control. They're indoor, outdoor. This is in front of a fountain, and that's it at night. It lights up steps that go down to the river in Augusta. The Belgian symbol, I turned it to a clock.
And is this all copper?
All of this is copper. The maple leaf is actually like a hornet's nest, and the light bulb was inside. This is a public fountain that I did for the city of North Augusta. They have a butterfly garden and a dog park. And it was at the old waterworks, and this old pump was right there, just like an eyesore right in the middle of it. So I did this bouquet of copper flowers, and they spill out. This is another copper piece. So this piece is kind of, and I'm sorry, I don't have any audible sound because they sound great. This piece is 8 feet tall, and they had this motif of the basket of flowers that was an etching on the door in this garden area. And so they were like, do whatever you want. And so I just mimicked that same basket of flowers and hammered it all in. And then the entire thing is flame torch patinaed. The water runs up the edge and spills over from the top. So the farther the water falls, the louder it is. This is a fountain I did in Columbia in 5 Points. The entire pool, whirlpool, and everything is all controlled by plants. There's no chemical fertilizer at all. And the fountain itself actually helps churn the water to make it work. And the guy wanted to put a shower behind the fountain. And he said, can you dress the plumbing up where it doesn't just look like standard plumbing? So I made it look like a still. And he loved it. It was fun. This is some of the intricate work that you can. That's all hand hammered and hand cut copper. This is a self-contained fountain. They were from Hawaii. I have pieces in 10 countries now outside of America. But this one, you could just set it there on your deck, fill it up with water, and start it running. It was a pineapple, and that's it at night. It has a great cascade at the bottom with the uplighting and the lighting behind it. So we have a golf tournament in Augusta, some of y'all heard of. And so this is a party house just down the road from there, and they didn't want to see the next door neighbors' air conditions. So they wanted something, some kind of design. They didn't know what they wanted. They just didn't want to see the air conditioning. So that is 10 foot tall by 12 foot wide and all hand hammered in. This was originally going to be a fountain. I talked her out of the fountain just because she was beginning to get up in age, and anything to do with water, if it's a goldfish or a swimming pool, there's something you got to do every day to a fountain, clean out the leaves or something. So the flower bed worked great. This was a client that she has a great eye, but she's kind of a hoarder. So
Sorry, somebody was trying to get in and I was trying to admit them.
she has this carport, and I worked with a garden designer, Jinx Farmer. Some of y'all may have heard of him or not. He's designed and built the botanical garden at the Columbia Zoo. He and I went to grammar school and have done a tremendous amount of projects together. So his challenge to me was, he says, look, he said, I don't want to hardscape, but this lady has a carport that has a lot of architectural pieces that she picks up here and there that she wants to use in the garden, but she stores them in the carport while they're, until she can figure out where she wants to put them. So this is, as you can see, all the stuff in the carport, and this is Jinx. This is a fountain. So when you sit in the garden and look, you just saw all that stuff in the background, no matter how beautiful the trees and the fountain and everything was. So that's it after I got it all back together. It's a copper curtain. So they're all handmade links of chain, and then they're attached to each other. And then when the wind blows, it undulates and tinks, and it just, so I told her at night, cut the light on in the carport, and that's what it would look like in the garden. So that's standing in the carport looking outside. So all the so-called like mortar joints would show through at night. Gives a great effect. This piece it was 8 feet long. There was a tremendous amount of glass in it, and copper and other things, some specialty glass. But that was one of my first commission pieces. He loved it every time I seen it, and I've done, I don't know, 5 or 6 other things for him as well. This piece, North Augusta, we're a small town, we're 25,000 people, and they built a $35 million municipal building. And I was as a board member, I proposed to the board that they spent all this money building the building. Why don't we as a guild adorn the building? So we went and picked all the historic houses out in town, made a list. Each one of the artists picked the house that they wanted to do. This is actually my piece that I donated to them. So it's glass, and the Palmetto and the Courgette is mirror. You can actually see me taking a picture in the mirror. And it's the very first thing you see when you walk in the building. And there's a self-guided tour that you can take. This is a memorial at Reed Memorial Baptist Church. A lady, it has an interior garden, and her mother really took care of it, and she wanted me to do a butterfly for her mother for that wall. These 2 pieces, they're kind of deceiving. This one's about this tall. I made the guitar even out of glass. It's got copper strings. She is for a lady's husband's music room in Calabash, North Carolina. So I did this one first, and it has musical notes that are floating around in the glass. And like I said, I made the guitar sits actually on it. So when you look in the mirror, you see the back side of the guitar. But when you step away from it, it looks like the couple dancing in the shape of the mirror part. So then she wanted an accompany piece. So I did the saxophone with the keyboard. You can actually see the other mirror in the mirror. She did 3 mirrors. I said, I don't know how you're going to do 3 mirrors in one room, but she made it work. It looks great. These are random colleges. It's funny, the Paul and the big G is a endodont or a dentist in town. He's a huge Georgia fan. His wife graduated from Clemson, and they have this bar. Half of it's Georgia and half of it's Clemson. So I did that for him, for her, and then did this for him, or vice versa. But So these are a carved stone, and I don't know why, but all of them turn out to be heads. I don't start out with any preconceived notion of what it's going to be or whatever. I let the rock talk to me, and it's an interesting rock. It's about a 3 or 4 on the hardness scale, and I've only found one deposit of it in Aiken County, and I've got like truckloads of it that I had permission from the property owner to get all I wanted, and it's amazing because just sitting out in the weather for just a month or so, it'll start growing moss on it from the stone. That's something that's in the stone. You can see it on his nose and on his lips. And it's amazing. In a month's time, it'll look like it's 1,000 years old. So these are broken pieces of Edgefield pottery that I reassemble onto an earthenware flower jug to make just another mosaic, but it's turning something that no one wants. No one wants any of that broken pottery into something someone treasures. When you plant a plant in it, it looks like his hair coming out the top of it. Cool. These are fence spaces. This is a churn lip, and there's all kinds of different things and different representations of different glazes that they made at that site. So the pottery, when you start talking about pottery in Edgefield, it's not what you're thinking about as far as pottery today. This is actually stoneware. So it's vitrified. That means that they fired that piece of pottery at 2,500 degrees for 24 hours with a wood fire. So, and that's me as I'm putting the piece back together. Like I said, I had to try and get it to stand up some kind of way to, and there were chunks missing out of the rim. He was very famous for making robust pieces. This is as I'm painting it, and that's as when I finished it. And I had to do it inside and out. So, and it's dated like September the 7th, 1837, and this is L.M., who was Lewis Miles, who was Dave's master at that time. That's about an 1837, 1840 piece.
How tall was that?
That piece was about 2.5, 3 feet tall. This is the South Carolina dispensary. So even today, when you buy liquor, there's a federal stamp, a federal tax on it. That can be traced directly back to the South Carolina dispensary. Because South Carolina, after the war, South Carolina was a wet state. Georgia was a dry state. So what was happening was states like Kentucky, Tennessee, they were dumping their liquors on South Carolina. And the thing is, like my grandmother always said, you follow the money, you'll find the truth. The state wasn't collecting the tax for the alcohol that the ones that these other states were dumping on the South Carolina. So Pitchfork Van Tillman, the governor at that time, came up with the dispensary system. You could only possess alcohol in South Carolina if it was in a dispensary container. They came in jugs, bottles. This is a 1 gallon jug. It was even into dispensary, but I had to replace the entire bottom on that piece. And the flow glue is not easy. So this next piece, I only have a couple more slides, but that is President Eisenhower and Mamie Eisenhower. That is at Mamie's cabin and 18 at the Augusta National. This light that's hanging over the president, a lot of people didn't know it, but President Eisenhower was a
fantastic artist. There are paintings in that cabin that are enormous of he and his grandson golfing there. He made that light. It's a dodecahedron. So they were starting to have a little bit of issues with it, and they called me. This has been 15, almost 20 years ago now, and asked me if I could take care of this. Anywhere the president stays, there's always an eagle. It is the White House while they're there. So that's it. In a color shot. That's the way it came down when it was awful, because if you look, see all the bugs inside, and it's because one of these points is hinged so that you can change the light bulb. And somewhere along the line, from the 50s to now, someone tried to repair it, the hinge, and they kind of boogered it up a little bit. There were several panes of glass that were broken. So I put a new barrel hinge on it, cleaned it, repaired all the glass, and then that was right before it was to be back installed. But just to work on something that actually the president made was such a, a thrill. No one has pictures at night. So like I say, I'm very fortunate. They're a great client. I've done a tremendous amount of restoration work. So this is the sundial that the members and the players check their tee time by. And the golf shaft actually casts the shadow to the number. So that was me in my studio. Someone had broken the shaft off of it, and so I had to restore it. And that was when we had the ice storm about 10 years ago. And it wreaked havoc out there. One thing it did is so before it was a golf course, it was fruit and nursery. Fruit and nursery went back mid 1800s. They actually developed the azalea at Fruit and Nursery. They took native azaleas that grew wild in the woods and crossbred them and came up with the azalea. A lot of people don't know that. And the one that you ever see that is pink and it looks like somebody like flick darker pink on the flower, that one is actually Augusta, is the name of it. But it had this light right in front of the clubhouse door and front door, and a huge limb came down, broke it. It's aluminum. It had been there since Fruitland Nursery. It sits on this pole, like I said, here's the front door going in. So that's what I received. They threw away half of the things. I was like, where's all the pieces that want me to fix it? Oh, we swept them out, threw them away. So I called it my Frankenlight. So this light, I actually I found another one similar, prettier. And at the time this was happening, they were not real big on change out there, even though they've done a tremendous amount of change in the past 4 or 5 years. I told them, I said, paint it black. And then they said, whoever signed off on it and said, okay, we'll paint it black like the pole, because aluminum is ugly. And then they said, but we don't want to see the light. So that glass is from St. Paul's Church, which was originally Fort Augusta. So they were like, we want to sandblast it on. Then when they saw it, and you see how big it is, they were like, leave it alone. We love it. Don't touch it. So I'm not even sure.
That was it.
That's it. Yep. But, like I said, very fortunate, very blessed. It's some very good challenges. I'm kind of known locally in the Augusta area as like the Palmetto guy. So next to the tree that I did for the city, I did a 6-foot copper palmetto tree, just like the ones that's there. And I gave it to the citizens of North Augusta. If there's any way you can cut the lights off real quick, it's lit. It's the lights are backlit. So it's LED remote control as well, indoor, outdoor. This particular one is my personal one that I'm just having in the den, but there's no receptacle there, so I did a battery operated LED light. But it's fun. Other items that you can cut the lights back on. The other items I have on the table, again, they're insulators that we turn into candles. They're copper bookmarks with antique marbles. And I do stuff with antique bottles. I call them my rooters. This is a repoussé. So repoussé is an old French technique. That is the Augusta Cotton Exchange, which is on Reynolds Street, Augusta. But I do people's pets or houses, weddings, different kinds of things like that. I make all of my own chain. So, I make it from little tiny links up to rain chain up to 1 inch. That's a double link chain manual, and this is actually part of a rain chain. The guy wanted golf balls and. So it's trash to treasure. You never know really what someone could be interested. These are bottles, so I dig bottles and collect bottles. All of the bottles that I use were made pre-1900, so it was made before the automatic bottle making machine. These are all handmade bottles in the 1800s, and then I turn them into these rooters. It's a glorified vase, really. My grandmother used to root anything. She saw a plant at your house. Next time you go to her house, it would be growing there. Take a little piece when she left. But I take the insulators and, like I said, make candles out of them. I like the fact that it's something that no one wants or you can't give away, or even the dragonflies were something I kind of started with, and marble feet. I make the copper crosses as well. Crosses, gosh, I have sold a ton of the copper crosses. They buy them for weddings, graduations, but they're all solid copper. And that's the bookmark. So the bookmarks are really simple and they're really eye-catching. Like the way the cradle, the spine of the book is really interesting. So it's again came from ends of when I was weaving a basket and had a piece left over. I'm like, what can I make out of this? So, like I said, I like the challenge. I'm so happy to see so many of y'all here and know that Zoom as well. It's just really nice to see a thriving art community. I really appreciate y'all thinking enough of me to come up and talk to y'all. Yes,
I'm just curious how long it takes you to carve a stone statue.
Sometimes I can carve, I usually carve on 2 or 3 at a time. And sometimes I just like knock one out in a couple of hours. And then other times it might sit there 6 months. I mean, it's when the inspiration hits me, I'll just get in there and do it. I did these alligator heads. And we live really close to the new stadium they built, which is right there at the Brick Ponds in North Augusta, that have alligators everywhere. So I did these alligator heads, and people would get them and put them right at the edge of their shrubbery. And like it was sticking out like an alligator was coming out. So it's, I have met the best people in the antiques, the art world. They overlap each other a lot more than people realize, and they're complementary of each other. Yes, sir.
Your copper pieces are very colorful, and typically copper turns green. What do you do to it that prevents that?
So that's another thing that I do that's not, I've never found anyone else that does it, but I do patina art. So I can turn it I can do it anywhere from like that shiny, and that's buffed out, to a Statue of Liberty. So in the green verdigris, in the natural process, it goes from shiny to green, but it has a very long point that it's almost like a leather or something. It's like a penny. But you can force that with acids, different kinds of acids. Now the ones that were red and different colors and all of that, I did that with a torch. So I did a flame torch, and a lot of times it'll stay 6 months to a year like that before it starts to turn brown. And it's all metals are trying to return to their natural state. So iron rusts, that's the oxidation, copper patinas, silver tarnishes, but they're all trying to get back to their natural state, and that's what we're trying to prevent most of the time. Yes, ma'am.
Do you put any kind of coating on your metal when because you're saying it rusts and everything? Do you put some kind of coating on it?
I do if the client requests it. I use a lacquer. So I also own a company in Augusta that it's called the Brass Ring. I have some cards up here. So we polish brass, copper, and silver. So I can take it anywhere from a satin finish, which is kind of like an old world finish, all the way to a mirror finish, and then lacquer it. And like silver, if you're not going to use it or eat directly off of it, it's more than fine to lacquer it. If you have a silver tray, now paper doilies, serve off of it, no problem. Silver gimlet cups or something, you don't want to lacquer those because you're drinking out of them. I lacquer the outside, but not the inside.
Is there a special lacquer?
It is a special lacquer because it's crystal clear, and that's another thing I didn't get to put on the PowerPoint, but it'll be coming on the website soon. I'm using more epoxies. I just did a huge pour. Of this lady, just random, her and her husband, they stopped in to the store, and she said, "Can you pour epoxy?" And I'm like, "Never tried it before. We'll see why not." And she goes, "I got this table." She brought this table, and she goes, "I'm no artist." And she set this thing down, and it was this octopus. Her husband painted the octopus, but around the entire octopus, she had put shells and anemones and crabs and starfish and this beautiful mosaic. I said, "Don't tell me you're an artist." She goes, you think you can do a pour over it? And it has been a learning experience, but I love it. And the pieces ended up being about 3 inches thick. And when you look in it, it looks like you're looking down into an aquarium. And in a second, I'll take my projector and just project it on the wall just so you can kind of see it. Is there any more questions?
Is that on your website?
It's not on the
Oh.
website, no, ma'am. I just have pictures of it.
Oh, okay.
Was there anyone? Yes.
Question, I was attracted to that piece of, a lot of pieces of broken pottery.
Right.
And made the pot of it. Is there a way over the course of your experience that you've developed that skill for seeing all these broken pieces and saying, you know what? That could be a pot.
Exactly. It's funny you should say that. That's almost exactly the way it happened. In a former life, when I was younger, my father was a land surveyor. And we surveyed all of Graniteville Company's property. They owned about 30,000 acres. And right next door, we were going to lunch one day. I said, I need to jump behind the tree. I used the bathroom real quick. Went across the street and it was like leaves. Pottery was everywhere. I mean, all over the ground. You couldn't even see the dirt for all the pottery. So I contacted the property owner. I said, hey, you mind if I get some of that pottery or whatever? I said, you know, just start with mosaics with the glass and stuff. And I do metal and stuff in the mosaics. And he's like, you want some of that broken pottery? He said, back the truck up and get all you want. Yeah, I did too. I have buckets and buckets. And it's so interesting because they made their own recipes of their clay. They made their own recipes of their glaze. The firing technique with the wood, with fly ash getting on it. The pottery has so much depth and color to it. That to me, it was a waste because it was a waster pile. It was pieces that blew up in the kiln or whatever they would toss over. And it was just a waste for this really beautiful pieces of real runny, drippy glaze to just be, you know, ignored, cast aside. So I just figure out something to do with it. And I boxed it up, brought it back, and I made a bunch of them. But they're, and I make them to look like jugs. I make them look like flower pots. But the flower pots are my favorite. Like I said, you stick a fern in it, it looks like his hair. It's just so cute. But was there any other? No, I'm having that.
Want to
I
put
think
it
I
on the
can
screen,
put
it'll go
it-
up there.
If you
Oh,
could turn the
let's-
light off.
Lights again, please. Look at you, got a little projector.
So I don't know how many people can see it or if you even can. It's a magnolia leaf. I did this for the editor of Gardens and Guns magazine. It's for a fountain. So this is the actual fountain. The water comes out of the tree and into the magnolia leaf and overfills into the reservoir at the bottom. He did not want to see how the magnolia leaf was hung. He said, I want you to hide how it's hung. So it looks like it's just floating in midair. Some of the other, like I showed you on the slideshow, but this is it. Actually, that's the same. I really like the view of the fountains. This is Another one in Human Spirit. It's a short fountain, it's only about 4 feet tall. Yeah, if you get a chance, just go to my website or and that'll kind of give you just an overview or an idea of what I do. Oh, I'll show you. I had this picture. Lights one more time. So this is the piece. This is the piece that the lady did. Look at all the shells. I mean, it's unbelievable when you really look into it. And like I said, her husband did and that is 3 inches thick, and that epoxy is crystal clear. So it was 36 inches. It's interesting. At the brass ring, I never know what's going to walk in the door. I mean, we have repaired, shined up, polished just about anything you can think of. Yeah. Yes, sir.
One final question. How do you get your phone to project like that?
Yeah.
So I've got an older phone, and I just had a phone issue, and I absolutely demanded to have my old phone back because it's a Motorola, and only for a few years did Motorola make a projector and an extra loud loudspeaker that attaches right to the phone. So I use it tremendous amount of layout, speak, just speaks. And I do. It's one of my treasures. I do use it like a lot.
Okay.
Thank you all very much.
Just let our Zoom people see everybody that's here. Everybody say hi to the Zoom people.
We're going to have our door prize drawing, and Tony, I need your help on that. You can stay right where you're at. We usually do 1 door prize for our husband's name, and then we'll do 3 for people that are here in person. So Tony, I need you to pick a number between 1 and 9.
3.
All right.
Bobby.
Okay.
She's on Zoom.
She's on Zoom. All right. No, it doesn't matter. All right, now for our people that are
Listen
listening
to
in
this
person,
number.
we're gonna do 3. So I need you to pick 3 numbers, Tony, between 1 and 51.
Wow. Say 12.
All right, 12 is Karen Larrabee.
25.
All right, 25, it's Joyce Oates. One more. 44, where's Al?
Al Leach.
All right, congratulations to our door prize winners. Tony, we thank you very much for a wonderful presentation. It was just awesome to see all the things that you do. There's just so many wonderful pieces that you have produced. And I think there's no end to what you're going to produce. But thank you very much. We enjoyed your presentation.
Thank you.
And thank you, Deborah, for selecting such a wonderful speaker. So thanks again, Tony. We really enjoyed it. I don't think anybody here didn't, it can go home and say, I didn't learn something tonight. We all did. Thank you. You are amazing and I love your work.
Thank
Said, I'm gonna find with the brass ring
Yes,
in Augusta. I'm going to find the brass ring in Augusta sometime. Couple more announcements real quick before I adjourn the meeting. One, if you have not served on the board, or even if you have, we need board members. We need people to start getting involved. And the best way to get involved is to jump in. And we've got a lot of positions that this is the last year people will be serving in those positions. We need a treasurer. Some of you may have a financial background that being a treasurer would be a breeze. And I mean, it's not that we're that difficult as far as we are a nonprofit organization, but we do need some people to volunteer to step up and do some things. So if you have some talents, and even if you don't, we can teach. I was a gym teacher. Now I'm a president of an art league. My only association with the arts was my best friend was an artist, and she and I did things together. And I learned a lot through that, and I learned to support the arts in many ways. So please, and you know, I'm asking you to do that. Again, if you have not done this, please contact us and say, hey, look, you can start training with us now. So you'll be ready to go next year, just so you know. Again, I'm going to remind you our workshops. We really need people to sign up, especially for this one in October. I think we're really good on one of the other ones. And we have our juror for our show now. And we're real excited about her coming, and it's going to be a 3-day workshop with her. So she'll be here in end of March, 1st of April, March, April, beginning of March, excuse me, is when she'll be here to do her workshop. So we do have that, and we'd love for you to get involved. We are constantly looking at ways to reach out. I did have one other announcement to make. The Chapin magazine, they're thinking about doing a dedication, I think the January issue or something. The entire issue would be on the arts. And they would like for some of you to purchase to come into this and be been there. They got a 1-page display and a 2-page display that you can sign up for. I think it would be a great way to get out. I mean, go back. We got a member today because he saw Chapin magazine. And I'm telling you, it is an amazing magazine. They treat us really good here in Crooked Creek, and we love being a part and working with them. So if you have, an interest in this, we need to let them know, because if it's not going to be feasible, then they'll probably have to drop back and punt and find a new one. There's the gym teacher coming out. They'll probably have to come up with another deal, but we're hoping that this will go. I don't remember the prices off the top of my head because I just saw it when I was sitting here before. So please consider that and know that we'd love to entertain that idea, because as much as we know arts builds community, communities are as strong as their arts programs, and that's why Chapin is what it is. We're not just a representation of Chapin though, we represent the Midlands. So we got everybody from Newberry County, Spartanburg County, Greenville County, Richland, Lexington, Fairfield, Kershaw. Yeah, Spartanburg. So, I mean, we're a Midlands representation, not just Chapin. So please put that out there and share. And we're glad to have all our new members. Thank you for coming. And at this point, I adjourn the first meeting of the Crooked Creek Art League.
Yeah. Tony has some of his cards on the table if anybody
One of them come down. I'll just tell her to put it down, and she quit too quick. Thank you. I'm not worried about it.